Once again, I'd like to express my deep gratitude to you for taking this course. And as you might expect, sometimes you might face some difficulties in terms of understanding theories of international relations. But hopefully, we will get through if there is tough time for you to understand what's going on in the realm of theory in the field of international relations, and I'm willing to help you understand theory and theoretical perspectives. And another important announcement that I would like to make before I get started. That's about it, I guess. 이름표, name tag이라고 해야 되나? You have to put your name on a paper and put it on your table so that I can memorize your name, individual names, because I'm going to call on your name to make contributions to this class, all right? Meaning that, like I said, in the first week, you have to read at least core readings before coming to this classroom so that you can have a discussion. Otherwise, your group discussion will be ruined because of your lack of commitment, all right, to this class, okay? So you have to read at least core readings, 1 or 2 readings each week before you come to this class, okay? Okay, and another important point is that don't be afraid, like I said before, don't be afraid of expressing your thoughts and perspectives or any ideas about international relations or political science, more generally speaking, in English. Because as I understand, your English are very, very good. Some of you use English much better than mine. And again, we are not born and raised in English-speaking countries. So speaking English perfectly is almost mission impossible thing, right? So I understand your English could be bumpy or imperfect, but that's very natural. So don't be afraid of speaking in front of students and your colleagues, your friends in English about your thoughts, okay? Right, let's do this. And today, the main theme or topic or questions as you can see on the screen is this. What is theory and why is it needed in IR? What is theory and why do we need a theory in the study of international relations? Okay, and obviously there are a couple of very interesting related questions here that I already laid out in the syllabus, right? For example, how is theory understood in IR, right? There are, as you know by now, if you have read the core reading, one of the core reading papers, right? There are different types, different understandings, different, conceptions of what theory is and what theory should do, right? But generally speaking, how is theory understood in IR? 이놈의 삑소리 이거. 이거 녹화해야 돼요. 이거 정말 이거. Anyway, 가끔 내가 이럴 수도 있어. 화를 낼 수도 있지만 참아. Bear with me. Bear with me when I'm speaking Korean, because it doesn't have anything to do with the contents of the lecture, right? I'm just expressing my feelings in Korean. Anyway, how is theory understood in the field of international relations? There is a generally accepted or dominant view when it comes to understanding what theory is and what theory should do or can do, right? And another interesting question that I want you to think about today is this. What types of theory do you support, right? Like I said, there are many different types of theory within the field of international relations. And is there any specific type that you support, among those several types of theory in the field of international relations, okay? That's very interesting. That can be a very interesting question, interesting as well as controversial or contentious, right, question. And third question is this. Why do we need theory? Okay, why do we need theory? Okay, why do you need theory? And this third question is obviously related to the second one. You know, what types of theory do you support, right? Depending on your definition, depending on your conceptions of what theory is, the answers to the question number 3 will be varying, right? Will be different. What I mean. And another important or interesting question that we might pay attention to today, if we have time, is this: what are the differences between and similarities between historical approach and theoretical approach to the study of international politics? There are clearly differences or different aspects of between historical approach and theoretical approach when it comes to understanding, trying to understand international relations. Okay, and for today seminar meeting, I have already asked you to read 2 core reading materials. One is written by Tim Dun, Lene Hansen, and Colin White, entitled "The End of International Relations Theory," and the second one is by James Rosno and Mary Duffy. Right? And 민혁, 그다음에 재현, 성현 이렇게 맞죠? Will give us a very nice introductory presentation about what is theory and why do we need a theory. Okay, why don't you come forward?
Before we start, I think there is something that we should congratulate the professor for one thing. The professor has, what do you say? Yeah, appointed as editor of book, right? Yeah, I think we should congratulate. It was about what Britain. Can you introduce for students?
I also have the picture.
Yes, we do have the picture on the Facebook. You just have to follow the Facebook 한양 정회, which would be our page for our major, and there's very nice picture of our professor. Okay, now then we'll start our presentation about the necessity of theory. Basically, we focus on the core reading, the 2 core readings that you guys might have already have read it, and we have focused on the questions that professor had already gave us, the 4 questions. So let's get started, shall we?
Okay. Would you please push the button? Hey guys, I'm Songhyun, and we're gonna start with the question, what is theory? Okay. So, as you can see, all academic disciplines undergo stasis and changes. So, if a certain theory remains as a major theory in just temporally, then it changes form, or another theory emerges. This procedure goes along the debate and discussion among the theories. Next page. And if you want to understand the theory, the boundary of the theory of especially international relation theory is so wide. So there can be multiple perspectives of theories about what are important factors when we make theory and how inquiry should proceed. So there are a lot of theories such as theory A, B, C, D, E, blah blah blah. So these differences make a bunch of theory. So we can say the diversity is the key of international relation theory. Next page. Okay, let's talk about the reality and theory. Okay, you think about a real world. Okay, here is a real world, and you can see the real world. But the world is so complex. So if you turn on the TV, you can see the full of incidents and events and all political rivalry and social movement and so on. So it's quite difficult to understand the whole world. It's just craziness. So that's why we need a tool. we need to generalize this complex reality. So the reality is complex. So theory generalizes the reality. So theory is actually abstraction from a complex reality. Next page. So let's take a look at this graph. The real world provides a raw material to the theory. And the theory, with this raw material, we can make a theory. So with this theory, we can understand and explain, formulate, and predict, and even change the real world. But what is important, with this material, we can actually derive multiple theories in accordance with different perspectives. So the theories are doing different kind of work, even though they are covering the same event and reality. Next page. According to Walt, who is one of the most renowned theorists, he says, theories are not mere collections of laws, but they are statements that explain them. Let me be more specific. That is to say, theory explains laws. Can you tell the difference between theories and laws? Okay, let me put it this way. Okay, here is variable. It's an independent variable and independent variable. So law is a regularity between independent variable and dependent variable. But the theory explains why the law occurs. Do you understand? Yes. And theory explains and predicts and precedes the reality. And the third one is theory helps us know what factors are important among infinite world and specify what relations between the factors are important. So actually we can derive multiple theory in one world. Finally, theory is a process conducted in thought, isolating the realm of activity from its connections with other realms. Okay, finally, the last thing I want to mention is that if you're wearing a lens, you can, with a certain color, you see the world through the lens into that color. So theory is like a lens through which we see the world. So I wonder, do you think complex reality permits a view of theory that allows a clearly defined set of relationships? I think not. So if we have more lens, our view of understanding the real world will be broader. That's why we study theories and a bunch of theories. So that's what we do in this semester, right? And Jaeyeon will continue.
Hello, I'm Jaeyeon, and second, I'm going to talk about the part of theory and history. Why it doesn't go down? So we're going to have some answers about why do we need theory. Before we come out with an answer, we thought there are some theory that explains the real world. It's called the ladder of theory. The ladder means, like, as you know, this kind of something that we can go to the higher place. So this goes on like this. If we broaden the generalization, then we can go to the more higher ladder. So if we go on to the more higher ladder, it has more encompassing patterns, and the most highest rung, which rung means kind of like similar to the highest part of the ladder, it called as a paradigm. And also highest rung enable us to identify the key questions and also develop the perspectives. And if we are in the lower ladder, we need more details to clarify the understanding of the real world. And actually, we thought this kind of ladder of theory is kind of similar to levels of analysis, which is also a tool to understand the international affairs. Like, there are three parts: a global part, and global states and individuals. In the global part which means is like they are the key factor of the international relations. So global level would be the approximately same with the higher letter, which was the most highest part, and paradigm would be the key point. And the state level, which is mentioned in here, each nations would be the units for the research, and it would be concentrated with the state policy. As the main actor is the state. And lastly is individual level. It is more detailed. In this part, it is also similar to the lower level, so more detail is needed to clarify the understandings, and would be the same level, as I mentioned before, is the lower level. So actually, theory consists of this conceptual thing, and theory is actually not a concrete object. So before Sangyeon mentioned that theory can explain and understand, predict, and change the world. So if we learn more about theory, we can broaden the scope and range of international theory. Then that means we can larger our conception of theory. And as the professor mentioned this question, what is the difference between international relations theory and diplomatic history? If you guys have downloaded the presentation, No? Oh, then it's okay. If you download the presentation, it's kind of a bit weird. Like, why history is predicting the future? That is my mistake. I forgot. Actually, I switched the first one. So if you download the presentation, please switch only the first part, please. So these are the difference we find out in their articles. First, diplomatic history is narrative-based explanation, but international relations theory is theory-based explanations. And this part, history, is the understanding the past, as this is the past part. But international relation theory is predicting the future. And history is also a single unique event, like one single event. But international relation theory is kind of classes of events and multiple cases, as theory consists of lots of examples and situations. So it has multiple cases. Thank you. And last, history is simple, but international relation, Mike hates me. Thank you. But theory is complex, as they contain lots of situations, as I mentioned before. Next, Minhyuk will going to talk about this part.
Okay, thank you. Okay, there were like lots of information, so some of you might get confused what we were actually talking about. So I will try to wrap up a little bit. So basically what Sangyeong was talking about was the definition of theory, what theory is, and the diversity of theory. Because of the characteristic of the theory cannot always have the answer for the predicting the future. So because of that, there is always ultimate theory that actually would be coming up, because each single theory would go through a process of stasis and changement. So if one theory comes up and everybody agrees with them, but incident suddenly comes up with as an exceptional cases for that theory, then people would always talk about that theory, that this theory is too old and it doesn't fit with the real world. Then what happens is that people think about a new theory, or they change the simple parts of the theory and then they call it neo something, like, which would be told in details when I'm talking about the theories part. And and the most important part of the definition was that because the real world is so complicated with many incidents, and there are too many things that we have to consider when we are consisting a theory. So what theories are doing is that they work as a lens. So if if you can see very well, what do you have to wear? Glasses, right? So the theory would be glasses to understand the word much better and more easier. That was the pretty much all what Sungyeong was talking about. And for Jaehyun, she has compared the theories and histories, right? History was studying the real world incidents by its individuals. So we can get from, we can actually generalize them. So generalizing the past history would be the theory. That would be basic notion of the theory. And then let's move on to what kind of theories are there. As we're doing in the introduction, I heard that most of you guys have studied like basic notions of the international theories. So I wouldn't like explaining really specifically because we're doing this kind of class in next week and so on. So for the realism, we have studied realism as the basic actor. The main actor would be states, and they will always be struggling for having the hegemonic power and to be dominant. That would be the realism. So basically, they wouldn't trust that the individual states will get together or do the cooperation. That and the realism actually separates in two parts. One would be the worst part, traditional realism, and the second part will be neo-realism. I told you about the neo part, which would be there were some kind of exceptions that the traditional realism could not explain what this word is going on. So they have kind of had consensus with the liberalism, which would be right opposite to the realism. And so let's go on to the liberalism. Liberalism is actually their main concept is that states can actually cooperate with each other. So what they're trying to do is cooperate with each other and make a world peace. And for the constructivism is they're focusing on the social elements and the cultural elements. So it means that the world international relationship is actually related with the individual's culture and the society. That would be the main frame of the constructivism. I wouldn't go farther deeper because there will be presentation for individuals. Yes, and that was mainstream theories that to understand the RR. And other than main theories, there are feminism, foreign policy analysis, and critical theory. These are the theories that we're going to talk about this semester according to the syllabus, right? For the feminism, it's pretty easy. What they're trying to do is explain the reason and status of suppression of women. And their ultimate goal is to free women from this kind of suppression. And for the foreign policy analyst is study of management of external relations and activities of state. So in short, it deals with the processes and outcomes of a certain foreign policy. And for the critical theory, this critical theory would be really complicated and hard to understand because this is really not kind of main theories that we actually study of. So it is mainly about not restrained to a certain hypothesis and does the research about the social movement and revolution. Yes. So that was mainly part of our core reading. So what we have thought about was, do we actually need a new theory? And is the main theory is too old to actually adjust to the real world? So there are two opinions. One is mainstream theory is not enough. They're too old. They're not able to adjust to the real world. And the second was, we need the brand new theory, like actually new foundation, and we have to measure or have the experiments of the the incidents as a whole. But what we thought about was, why don't we just, it's a matter of how to reorganize. Like neorealism or neoliberalism was actually a reorganization of itself, like it has studied from each other. So I think that would be interesting debate that can be going on. Yes. And these are the questions, that was actually my conclusion. And these are questions that we thought it is debatable and we thought you guys should also think of. The first one is, are exceptions exceptional? When I was like talking about the theories, I told you about there were exceptions. So those theories were considered as old or not adjustable. So our exceptions just should be considered as just exceptions, or because that is exception, that theory doesn't make sense. So it will be separated into two opinions, right? And the second one is, does word consist the theory or the theory consists the word? That doesn't need any explanation, right? And the third one would be, would theories be more specified or combined? That would be our conclusion part. The thing that new theory, or do we need to combine it, or is mainstream theory enough? That would be the third question. And thank you for listening.
Okay, 다 들어왔나? Is everyone in? Yes. Okay, cool. 그럼 시작해 볼까? Okay. Very nice little introductory presentation given by 성현, 민혁, and Jaeyeon. Was very helpful in terms of having, again, introductory understanding of theory and the aims of theory or the meanings of theory, especially in relation to the study of international politics. And also, I like the questions posed by, 이름 너무 작게 썼네. 재현이 아니라 형원. 맨날 내가 형원 and Bina, right? Okay, good, very nice question and answers. Okay. By the way, when we have question and answer time, students might be tempted to use in Korean. Okay. And for those who do not speak or understand Korean at all, please bear with them. Okay, as I said before, the main objective of this course is to have a better understanding of international relations theory and the international relations per se, perhaps, of course, from theoretical perspectives. And throughout the semester, there might be some cases in which I feel like, okay, it's better for us to speak in Korean. But don't worry about it, because I will explain to those who do not speak Korean or do not understand Korean at all in person about what we are talking in Korean. So don't worry about it. Or someone like 민혁, 성천, or 상규, or Jaeyeon will translate what we are talking about in Korean into English. So again, those who do not speak Korean or understand what we are talking about in Korean, don't worry. Right? We will handle with that matter properly. Right? Properly. Having said that, it's time for us to have a more intense discussion or debate, if you like, about the theory, right? The meanings of concepts and the objectives of theory with respect to the field of international relations in group. Okay, in group. Normally, we will have. I used to have 5 or 4 groups in the classroom, and today probably 4. Let me check. Just the first group will consist of will be. Okay. 성현, Emily, Alexis, Jesus 성천. 이렇게 will be group A. Okay? 성천, 혜지스, Alexis, Emily, 성현 will be group A. And group B will have the students 재현, 고하비 맞죠? 고하비, 다현 맞지? 처음이니까 넣어준 거야 그렇게. 용욱, 이용욱, 이렇게 일단 아마 또 추가될 거예요. 일단 4. And group C will have 상규, 가몽. 처음이라서 지금 it will take time for me to remember or memorize your names, but I will. Trust me. 그다음에 민혁, 레나타 맞죠? 레나타. 그다음 신영. 이렇게 group C. And 우승, 진솔, 상희, 유진, 미나 will be group D. And raise your hand if I didn't call your names. Okay. 일단 한번 let's do this 해봐. 나머지는 those who have not been called, just come forward to me. Okay. Let me provide you a couple of questions that you might want to talk about in groups. All right. Pretty much the same as the questions that I already introduced to you at the outset of today's seminar. All right. The first question is quite obvious. In your opinion, that's the key. In your opinion, what is theory? You got to try to define what theory is. How do you define a theory? All right. At least in the field of social sciences. Okay. Clearly, there are different definitions or generally accepted consensus surrounding the meaning of theory between natural sciences and social sciences. In other words, when it comes to the social world, we do have different understandings, although there is not a consensus. But as compared with the natural world, as compared with the study of the natural sciences, right, the social science and the social theory does have different understanding. So with that in mind, you need to try to define what theory is. Okay, in your opinion, what is theory, right? And then you need to think about why we need theory, especially in the study of international politics, right? Why? So do you think we need a theory or not, right? And if you think we need a theory, then why? If you don't think we need a theory, and then also why? You need to discuss the reasons behind your perspectives and thoughts, right? And the third question is, again, which is what I already introduced, right? What types of theory in IR do you support, right? At least there are 3 or 4 different types of theory employed within the field of international relations, according to the first core reading written by Tim Dien, Lene Hansen, and Colin Wright, right? So there are 3 or 4, at least 4 different types of theory in IR. So among them, which type do you support, or is there another specific type of theory do you think we need to embrace, right? And question number 4 would be quite interesting for you to talk about, I guess. What do you think is the most crucial or important issue in international politics of the 21st century, and how could theory help to address that issue? Right? That is a question number 4. And question number 5 is already sort of touched upon by one of the presenters today, the difference and similarity between history and theory. And so if we have time, there is time left for us, and then we will talk about question number 5. But I want you, for now, to focus your attention on question number 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right? From 1 Up to 4. Okay. So I will give you about an hour to discuss all of these questions. 알겠죠? Okay, let's do this. I think it's a time for us to share each group's insights and what they, the others, have talked about regarding these 4 interesting and important questions. And before we do that, I'd like to say that I'm so glad that it seems to me that you have had quite interesting discussion and debate, because I was able to see labs here and there, and I fully understand it will take time for you to have more interesting discussion in this classroom, because group discussion is not a normal or popular way of teaching employed by university professors, but I personally believe that it is one of the most effective ways of improving your understanding, as well as sharpening your own perspectives, right? And also, normally as 재현 or 뭐 성현, 성천, 상규, and those who already taken my courses before know, I normally come to you and listen to what you're talking about and give some comments on your thoughts. But because of this 이상한 거, 이것도 녹음되고 있겠지만, because of this, right? Like I said, this class, this course, this lecture is being recorded. So because for the purpose of the record, I cannot walk outside of this little ugly, thing. Okay, I have to be around this little space. So bear with me. 나도 참 이거 답답한데. Anyway, I'm sure that there are a couple of cases that you could come to me and ask questions about about theory or different theoretical perspectives. Then I will be more than happy to help you understand about international relations and international relation theory. Okay, enough of chit chat. Okay, question number 1. In your opinion, what is theory? What is theory? How do you define theory, especially in the relations, in the field of international relations? 누가 얘기해 볼까요? Who would like to give me or give us your thoughts or opinions on question number 1? 누가 얘기해 볼까? 상규? 상규? 상규 아니면 뭐 손 있어? Raise. Okay, good. Go ahead. I love your contribution, by the way. I appreciate it. You look very cute today. Yeah.
I think some of the answers was very interesting. For instance, we use the structure of our minds in understanding the global phenomena, and theory contributes and influence in the making of that structure. So we are frequently influenced by the theory when viewing the global situations, and that's why the theory is really important when analyzing.
Very, very interesting question there, I guess. Another or sort of different perspective on the definition of theory or the aims or roles of theory. Okay. Sangyu just mentioned that, 2 points, right? Theory can be used as a tool of explaining or understanding the world, but also we, as students or researchers of international relations or political science, are influenced by theory, right? Okay, good. So there are 2 different aspects of the roles of theory that you can find in the core reading by Tim and Hansen and Colin Wright. 이럴 거야 자꾸? 누가 얘기해? 그래 성천. That's why I like you, man. Come on.
Discussion, I kind of like the expression that theory is kind of like a translated language.
Oh, okay.
Like some events happen, but and you don't understand it because it's not in my language. But through theory, you can kind of like translate itself to us, so we can understand it a little better.
Okay, okay. Interesting answers. So let me ask you one further question regarding that answers. What do you mean by translate or translation?
Well, let's say it kind of like gathers the elements and
Okay.
the matters, and it kind of what should I say?
Gather information important to you.
Yes, and it shows. It's kind of like a guideline how to understand this situation.
Okay. It's like a translating tool, right? That can be used for understanding of, let's say, complex reality, right? Okay, translating tool. It's a nice analogy that we can use to describe and understand theory, or what theory is, what theory should do. And 누가 얘기해볼까요? Different and what else? Blossom. 그래. Blossom. 재현. 신블러썸. 아니야? Awesome.
We talked about what is theory like. We said it's a guideline to see the
Guideline.
world, and it's just a guideline. So there are guidelines, but we have to follow the guidelines. That doesn't fit to here. Also, we said that we cannot separate theory to international relations. They're kind of related.
Okay.
And also, we talked about is an abstraction of the IR. One more is explaining the world. It's kind of simple definition of it.
Very nice, very nice. Okay. So they have a sort of touched upon all four different types of theory or roles of theory, right? Explanations or guideline as an explanation, and abstraction of this complex reality. It works as an abstraction of the complex reality that help us understand the underlying complex and dynamic nature of the world politics. And also they said theory as the constitution, right? It has constitutive role or aspect, right, of the theory. 민혁?
What we agreed upon was like, as the previous commentator has commented, it would be the tool to understand, and it will be the best way to understand what is actually going on in the real world. But it was, I heard an impressive way to express was from Sangyu, was that theory actually developed it from accumulated historical events. And it has been generalized to a certain kind of way, was what somebody said, and it was very impressive. And what? And two, like it actually, but there was like most of us agree that theory would be important to understand IR, but there was one opinion that theories are not important. What that person said was the theory would be too idealistic because it has been generalizing those specific events. It would have too ideal circumstances that the theory wants. So basically, it just stuck a person's thought to a certain criteria, so people cannot think of new or creative ways to actually act or to happen a new event. So
Constrain our thought, limit our thought to a particular way of understanding of international. Oh yeah, good. Very, very nice and very deep indeed. Okay, which I believe will be discussed later throughout the semester. I'm pretty sure about that. Good. Binyak just led us to question number 2, right? Do we need theory? Okay. Do you think we need a theory? And on the one hand, he said, yes, we need a theory because it is one of the, useful tools to understand or explain what's going on in reality. But at the same time, it could be used or treated as something like a tool that constrain our imagination, right? Imagination. So what do you think? Yonguk? Number 2.
It's also international relationship both. If we have the theories, we can imagine the ultimate goals of international relationship, like
아이씨? 들려 임마. 이거 녹음되고 있다고. 이거 너가 이거 되는 게 아니에요. 내가 이거 여기도 못 나가는지 모르고 답답해 죽겠어 아주 그냥. 그러게. 대충 뭔지는 알겠어. 무슨 얘기를 하려고 하는지 알겠고.
최종적인 목표를 우리들한테 제공해줄 수 있는 수단으로서 이용할 수
Okay, just as a means, right? 수단으로서, not as an end. 맞죠? good, good. 또 성현이 발표했으니까 성현, what do you think? Or what your group did think? Failed predictions.
If we fail predict the future, what then cost will be huge.
Sure.
Quite dangerous
Mm,
to lean on to theory
mm,
in some sense.
that's right. Yeah, Emily?
Actually, also talk about that. The theory is a kind of tool used for predicting the future,
Yes.
learning from the past.
Mm,
Then you can predict the future and prevent some bad things happening.
mm,
So if we fail, these are ways when we fail
mm,
to predict some things and prevent them, then
Mm.
the goods might lead to huge
mm. Yes. Good point. Actually, that is one of the mostly accepted notion of the why do we need a theory in the study of international relations? Prediction. Okay, and in order for us to have a prediction, we need to generalize different cases or different events. We need to come up with generalizable factors that can be applied to different cases and different issues. Right? That is one of the means means of the theory understood by the a considerable number of international relations scholars. But that's not the only, right? That's not the only role that theory should play in the study of international relations, as you might know, right? 또 어떤 뭐가 있을까요? 또 who else? 오케이. 이름이 뭐였지? What your name? 신. Science, discipline.
Because if we do not use theory to look at international affairs, then every single international theory is just practical fact. It is a kind of general part of science. We need to use theory in the study of international affairs.
Very good point. Another good point. But again, here, challenge might be made to what I just said by you. Depending, of course, depending on what do we mean by science, okay? I mean, there are a bunch of scholars in the field of international relations who argue that IR should be a science, okay? And by science, they mean we need a theory, like I said, applicable to a wide range of issues and events, and it should be able to generalizable. You should be able to have general applicability, right? And in order for us to have that kind of utility, like I said before, we need to generalize. We need to sort of ignore unimportant or trivial features of world politics while taking what appears to be important or critical issues like war and peace and big major states rather than small or weak or middle power states. Okay. Minya, good. Okay.
It's just my own opinion, but I thought Sungyeon pointed out that predictable was like predicting the future is one of strengths of theory, right? But I think that can also be the flawness of the theory.
Good.
Because that predictable future is not always correct and doesn't follow that prediction.
Yes.
So it also restrains us to that certain future that makes us to do as what the theory that prediction says. But that's not always the answer. And the real world doesn't goes what the theory said. There is so many things that actually can affect and make the changes in the real world, not just what we consider as the main factors.
Good point. Very good point. That is, as you might know, one of the main arguments put forth by critical theoricists. Critical theory that we will learn in week 7 or week 8, I guess. Okay, week 8. So again, here we have, or there are different types or different aims of theory that we can think of, even when it comes to the study of international relations, let alone social science or natural sciences. Okay. So let me give you very quick or short lecture about these questions. Okay, some of the key points that you might want to think further. Okay, when you go outside, when you go home. All right. So main points. This first point is this. Okay, international politics, as you are well aware of, is very dynamic. Okay, very dynamic and very complex. It is one of the most complex realm, right, of study that we can think of now. Just think about actors and issues involving global politics, right? How many actors can you think of right now related to international politics? The first actor we could come to our mind is individuals. Yeah, and also we can divide individuals into the different groups of individuals, like bureaucrats or the key policymakers, presidents, and just ordinary people. Or we could think of also journalists who have sort of a power to influence people by writing articles or reporting important news and so on and so forth, right? Individuals. So there are also 4 or 5 different groups of individuals within the state, right? And also we have, what else? What kind of actors do we have in relation to international politics? Terrorists, yes. We have terrorists or terrorist group or terrorist militant groups, so-called ISIS or IS, Islamic State group. And also we have, of course, the major actor in international politics is 진솔, 뭐지? What is a major actor when it comes to international politics? Yes, states. We have states, and then within state we have individual, we have groups, and even states we could divide them into different groups according to how powerful they are. Right? We have major power state, we have dominant state, we have small state, we have sort of middle state, and also we have non-state actors such as international institutions, international organizations like UN or EU, right? And traveling to the Asia, we have ASEAN, ASEAN plus 3, APEC, ASEM. I mean, I can go and on, right? So there are considerable number of actors, and also in the realm of international politics, we have considerable number of different issues that can give us a lot of headache, right? The first issues that we can think of is, of course, war and peace, but that's not the only issue that concerns international politics. What else? Nations? Tension, yeah, tension, war and peace, tension or power competition between and among nation states, and what else? Yeah, democracy or democratic values, right? Or the spread of democracy, so-called, promoted by the Bush administration back in 2002 and 3, right? When his administration waged a war against Iraq. And what else? Democracy, war, competition, tension, peace, or environmental issues, right? And also these days, one of the crucial and important issues that concern international relations is immigrant crisis going on in Europe, you know, and tens of thousands of people from Syria immigrating toward Europe, and they take a very dangerous and gruesome journey to get freedom, or to get a more secure life, right? So here again, a lot of different issues, a lot of different events concerning international politics, alongside with many different actors. Therefore, international relations, international politics is very complex and dynamic. In addition, today's world, as you know, complex more than ever. The end of Cold War, and coupled with globalization and national boundaries have blurred, and economic interdependence has increased, right? The trade and blah, blah, blah. 이렇게 다 되는 거 알고 있잖아. So the 21st century is an age of globalization and interdependence, meaning that, again, more complex, more actors, more issues, right? So the point here is this. So in order to make a sense of such a complex, dynamic, and changing states or even theory go through stasis and change is what Minhyuk and Sunghyun have pointed out, right? So in order to make a change of such a complex world, we need a tool to locate and identify key factors out of a myriad of factors and actors and issues, as I mentioned. So in this sense, or viewed in this light, theory seems to be understood in terms of simplifying or abstracting, as Sunghyun, some of you have pointed out, simplifying or abstracting a complex reality to provide, right, generalizations about it, or modeling a complex reality with important features while ignoring unimportant or the so-called trivial ones. Okay. So, as I said briefly before, this is a generally accepted understanding of what theory does in IR, right? Generalization, prediction, explanation, and simplification. Okay, simplify the complex reality in order for us to have an understanding of what's going on in such a complex world, while giving us a chance to have a generalization, so that we can have a predictions, okay, regarding what is likely to happen in such a complex, real world of global politics. But again, there is no consensus on a precise definition of theory, as you know. So this is not the all theory does, right? So there are different understandings of what theory is and what theory can and should do. Okay, here is 4 different types of theory. Okay, and that is one of the key arguments made by this paper, right? There are many types of theory in IR, and theory are doing very different kinds of things, and therefore we at least should be accept the fact that the diversity of theory and diversity of the aims of theory, okay, why theory exists. So first one is, as you know, explanatory theory, okay, and this is a dominant view, okay, dominant view. So when it comes to theory, or when it comes to an understanding of what theory is or what theory should do, this is a dominant view, okay. So explanatory theory simply attempts to explain events or phenomena by providing an account of causes, okay, why. So explanatory theories typically emerge in response to why question. Okay? They are interested in why question. They try to understand why things happen, okay, or why things are happening by providing generalizable causes, by identifying generalizable or important causes of that event. Okay? So as I said just before, theory should be able to, or theory is normally understood as a tool that identify important features of international politics while ignoring unimportant or trivial ones, right? That is for generalization and thereby prediction. So any explanation should be generalized according to this view, according to the explanatory theory view, okay, the view of the explanatory theory. Any explanation should be generalized across similar cases, and theory should be therefore generalizable with predictive capacity. Okay. Right. So this is what Kenneth Waltz has actually mentioned. Kenneth Waltz, as you know, is one of the prominent IL scholars, theorists of international relations, and he said, and Kenneth Waltz is one of the aggressive proponents of explanatory theory. Okay, there are different types of theory, like I said before, right? But Kenneth Waltz is one of those guys who support very fiercely, very aggressively the utility of explanatory theory rather than, say, critical theory or constitutive theory or normative theory, right? Waltz preferred explanatory theory by saying that the real test of the theory is not the extent to which it realistically captures a realm, okay? So according to him, or according to that view, theory is not for capturing the complexity of the reality, okay? What is really going on is not the interest to those who support explanatory theory. Okay? The reality is something that might interest historians rather than theorists, according to the view of explanatory theory. Right? So instead, the extent to which it may be said to be useful, and with usefulness in this context defined in terms of the explanatory and predictive capacity of the theory. Okay? So how well we could describe, how well we could explain what is really going on in the real world is not the main concern for explanatory theorists. Okay? Instead, explanatory theorists believe that theory should be able to generalizable, should be able to be applicable across different cases and issues, and by simplifying the complex reality, by choosing or picking important features while leaving others. Okay? But there is another important type of theory, of course, according to one of the main or core reading, right? That is critical theory. Critical theory. And while explanatory theory, as I said, tries to explain events by providing an account of causes, so generalizable causes, critical theory has a clear intention of criticizing particular social arrangements and outcomes. For example, if you believe that the current international relations norm is related to something like anarchy, okay? then critical theorists are interested in change those anarchic nature of international system. They are not interested in explaining or predicting what's going on or what will be happening in international relations. But instead, they are interested in changing existing social and political order and system. Okay. So again, generalizability is not of great importance to critical theorists, and what theory should do for them is to criticize a particular set of social circumstances and to demonstrate how they came to exist. So the point is not to interpret or predict the word, but to change it. Okay, to change it. So you see the clear difference between explanatory theory and critical theory. And third type of theory is normative theory. Okay, and it addresses the moral dimensions. And by moral dimension, we mean things like how things should be. Okay, we are interested in addressing how things should be or ought to be, and whether or not we should value them, and which things are good or bad. Okay, according to their view, we could and we should decide or make a decision regarding which one or which actor or which event is better or good or bad. Okay, we have to, or we could make our own judgment. We should be able to get involved in normative commitment or normative arguments. So in this sense, normative theory seems very closely related to critical theory, right? The critical theory's main interest is to criticize the existing or particular social arrangement or order or system, right? And meaning that they are premised upon the assumption that we should have our own values and which one is good and bad, right? But explanatory theory too has normative commitment, of course, according to the core reading, as you know, right? For example, realism often explains the behavior of states by saying all states act in terms of interest defined in terms of power, okay? So according to realism, states behave in accordance with what they have, okay? Materially, what they have, power. And this means that this has a certain normative argument about how states have to act, right? Because all states in reality behave according to what they have materially. Therefore, in the future, or in a certain situation, states have to behave according to what they have materially, right? And this is clear normative argument involved in explanatory theory. And the fourth type is constitutive theory. And it doesn't attempt to make generalization unlike explanatory theory. It doesn't attempt to identify patterns or predictions, but ask, how is these things constituted? Okay, constituted. And also, it is not interested in why. So, in simply speaking, it is not interested in why questions. Okay, like I said before, explanatory theory is interested in why question. They're interested in identifying causes of the particular event by applying generalizable causes to that event. Right? But constitutive theory is interested in how and what questions. Okay, how things have come to exist. What is, for example, what is state, and how the current international system have been constituted over the past, throughout the courses of the long history, right? And so, for example, the questions of how rules, norms, and ideas constitute social objectives of great interest to that particular type of theory. And they also view theory not as a tool based on neutral observations of a given word, but a part of, right? As some of you have already acknowledged, theory is viewed as something that is part of the construction of the word, right? It cannot be separated from the reality that the theory is to explain about, right? Or tries to explain about. So theory constructs the word. That's the main view obtained by the constitutive theorist. And in this understanding, theory can never be objective, of course, right? Because a theory constructs word. And what theory tries to do is to explain that word, right? But theory is part of that word. So theory can never be objective, or theory can never be objectively tested. Right? We have to accept that. This is what constitutive theorists argue. Right? So final theory as a lens, right? This is some of you have already talked about lens. Put on lens, different color lens. Sunghyun, right? Sunghyun explained very, very well when he delivered his part of the presentation. So someone, or not many, but a small group of scholars in IR considered theory as a lens through which we look at the reality. And it is neither interested in making generalization, nor criticizing particular events, nor asking how are they constituted. Okay? So theory as a lens has different objectives, right? Not generalization, not predictions, not criticizing, not constitution, but just different, to have different understandings. For example, it is for analytical convenience to see different aspects of the complex word. So if we use one lens, we will see the word in particular way, perhaps with certain elements highlighted and others hidden from our view. But when we change the lens, then the word may look very different. Okay? So theory as a way of understanding. So here theory is understood as a way of understanding the same issue or same event from different perspectives. That is all. So in this understanding, there is no substance in theory. Okay? It doesn't have a predictive. It doesn't have explanatory capacity. Right? Just a way of understanding the same issue from different perspective, from different colored lens. Right? So the key point is then what? Okay, there are many different understandings of what theory is. Okay, that is a key point. That is all you need to remember before you go home. Okay, you don't have to remember what types of theory exist out there. That is my job. Okay, that is something that I normally do and think hard about. Okay, you don't have to. But one point that I want you to remember is this simple fact. All right, there are many different understandings, even competing and understandings and accounts of what theory is. More importantly, there is no agreement, okay, whatsoever, right, regarding the question of what theory should do. Okay, should do. So the question is then becomes this: what type of theory do you support? It is the question that you alone decide, okay, according to maybe or depending on your gut feelings, I don't know, your logic or your personal experiences, whatever, I don't mind. But you have to decide what type of theory you support, okay? You need to have your own understanding of what theory is and what theory should do, right? But this is my view. This is my own view, so you don't have to follow or respect my view. I just, you know, throw it at you, right? So perhaps I believe we are better off with a diverse array of competing understandings rather than a single account of theory, precisely because there is, as I say, intrinsic complexity, dynamics, and even contingency deeply involved in global politics, right? And as I said, there is a dominant view of what theory is and what theory should do, which is what? Dominant view of what theory is in IR, which is, yeah, that's right. Explanation or explanatory theory aims to explain the causes of the events by providing generalizations and which could lead us to make predictions, right? But as students of IR need to embrace a pluralistic understanding of international relation theory, and even if there is a particular type of theory you support, and that's very important. Again, let me emphasize this point. You have to, or at least you need to try to think hard about what type of I believe is most valuable type of theory. But at the same time, you need to, I believe, accept that various interpretations do exist and that they have their own values to be appreciated in their own terms. All right. So, because this has to be, or this could be first step for us in the study of international politics, which could allow or which enable us to have a constructive dialogue and therefore intellectual progress. Okay, I mean, based upon pluralistic understanding of what theory is, what theory should do, we could have dialogue, right? Otherwise, I mean, if we just follow the dominant understanding of what theory is, what theory should do, then it's very difficult for us to have a dialogue with those who do not believe what we believe in. You know what I mean, right? So at least, in order for us to have a dialogue, which is the key to the progress, intellectual progress in any discipline of social science, we have to remain open-minded to different roles and objectives of theory. 알겠지? Simple as that. Simple as that. So with this in mind, next week we will turn our attention to one of the mainstream theoretic perspective employed in the field of IR, which is realism, and these few of the questions that we will consider when we meet next week. And these are two core readings that I want you to read before come to my class, right? And who would like to give a presentation about realism? Okay, it's easy peasy. 아니야, 뭐 다 쉽지만. But on another note, I fully understand the major or main topics and questions that we discussed today could be seen quite challenging to you, right? They're talking about what theory is and what theory should do in English, right? In English. I mean, even we did in Korean, it could have been still difficult and challenging, right? But at the same time, I truly believe that this have given you a very good opportunity to think about theory itself. Because lots of students, I mean, trust me, most of students just learn and memorize what realism is, what liberalism is, what constructivism is, without thinking what theory is, what theory should do, right? And there is none of the undergraduate courses that provide you students with this opportunity. Okay, so I hope that you appreciated what I appreciated. But anyway, so this is it. Before I let you go, I want at least 2 or 3 students who would like to give a presentation next week about realism. Okay, who raise your hand? And of course, in 2 weeks' time, we will talk about liberalism and IR, and we will decide these two who would like to give presentation over the next 2 weeks: realism and liberalism. And don't forget to upload your complete presentation on PPT file by Monday. I have decided to give you more time. Okay, 12. Okay, 11. Just 1 minute before 12, Monday. Okay, and read your core readings. 누가 해볼까요? Presenters. Who would like to? Realism.